The company thought the deal would take one afternoon. By the end of the year, it had cost them millions. In early 2018, a resource company announced plans to develop one of the largest lithium projects in the region. Their geologists had spent years studying underground samples. Their engineers had mapped drilling zones. Their financial analysts estimated future revenues in the hundreds of millions of dollars. Only one obstacle remained: a 320-acre cattle ranch owned by a quiet 71-year-old rancher named Walter Briggs. The company reviewed the property and saw nothing remarkable. A weathered farmhouse, several grazing fields, a few aging barns. The land generated less than $18,000 annually from livestock operations. According to standard valuation models, the property was worth a fraction of what commercial land in nearby cities sold for. Their acquisition team prepared an offer: $50,000. To the executives, it seemed generous. The company representative drove to the ranch expecting a quick signature. Instead, Briggs looked at the paperwork for less than 2 minutes and pushed it back across the table. He declined without making a counteroffer. The representative assumed he needed more time. A week later they returned. The answer was still no. Then came another offer: $75,000. Rejected. $120,000. Rejected. $250,000. Rejected. The company became confused. Neighbors couldn't understand it either. Many believed Briggs was making a huge mistake. After all, the land wasn't producing significant income. Property values in the area didn't justify turning down that kind of money. Yet Briggs never appeared uncertain. He never hired consultants. He never sought public attention. He simply continued feeding cattle and repairing fences while the company became increasingly frustrated. As the months passed, executives began asking the same question: what did this rancher know that their experts didn't? The answer stretched back nearly 40 years. During a drought in the 1980s, Briggs had spent months researching historical water rights disputes. While searching county archives, he discovered a collection of engineering maps, land surveys, transportation studies, and mineral exploration reports dating back decades. Most people would have ignored them. Briggs didn't. He carefully stored copies in his home. Over the years, he continued adding notes and annotations. What he learned from those records changed everything. The lithium deposit attracting investors wasn't located in a single compact area. It extended across multiple properties. The richest extraction zone sat beyond steep terrain that made direct development difficult. Every efficient route for heavy equipment crossed Briggs's ranch. The shortest road crossed his land. The safest utility corridor crossed his land. The least expensive drainage route crossed his land. The most practical pipeline route crossed his land. Without access to his acreage, the project became dramatically more expensive. The company didn't realize this because different departments were analyzing separate parts of the project. Geologists focused on minerals. Engineers focused on construction. Lawyers focused on land acquisition. No one had examined the entire puzzle the way Briggs had. He understood something they missed. His ranch wasn't valuable because of the minerals beneath it. It was valuable because it connected everything else. When the company finally commissioned a comprehensive review, the findings shocked management. Alternative access roads would require nearly 7 additional miles of construction. Several bridges would need reinforcement. Utility lines would require relocation. Environmental mitigation costs would increase substantially. Project delays alone could cost millions. Internal estimates showed that excluding Briggs's property could add more than $4 million to development expenses before production even began. Suddenly, the negotiation changed. The company was no longer buying ordinary ranch land. They were negotiating for strategic control of the entire project. Executives returned with a different approach. This time they listened. Briggs presented copies of surveys, historical maps, and engineering records accumulated over decades. Independent consultants reviewed the documents. The conclusions matched his assessment. The leverage was real. Months of negotiations followed. The company eventually agreed to terms that looked nothing like the original proposal. Reports later suggested the final agreement approached $5 million when land rights, infrastructure access, easements, environmental protections, and future payments were included. Construction moved forward. The project stayed on schedule. The company secured access. Briggs secured a life-changing return. The executives had spent years studying what was underground. The rancher had spent decades understanding what was above it. And that difference changed the value of 320 acres from $50,000 to nearly $5 million. Because in business, the most important asset is not always the one everyone can see. Sometimes the greatest value belongs to the person who understands how all the pieces fit together.